Hey everybody, this is Curtis from PSNStores.com. Today we're going to take a look at Mutant Mudds Super Challenge, not Super Deluxe. So Mutant Mudds Deluxe, I believe was the full title, was a game that came out on PS3 and Vita a few years back. I reviewed it. I really liked it quite a bit. It's just it's very challenging, and it's not a super complicated platformer. There's just a few things that you need to know, but a lot of it's about just being very particular with your movements. Everything is very deliberate in the way that the stages are designed and what's required of you. And so it's very difficult, but it's not unfairly so. And every time you complete a stage or get past the part that's been really difficult for you, all of that's earned. All of that is from your doing and not just by getting lucky, for the most part. So here we have Super Challenge, which I have finished. I think I'm just missing like 1 or 2 tracks. But as you see there, I've got all the pieces, all the coins. I died I think it was about 335 times to beat it, and then I died a few more times, kind of looking around for some hidden characters, because there are it's like 20 different characters that you can find. I found the first one, so that should tell you just how hard they are to come by. Basically, these are hidden in the not really optional, in the secret levels of each level, and they're hidden in such a way that they can be pretty difficult to find, obviously. So I only found Rusty just recently because I looked up and saw, like, oh, that's what I should be looking for, because you have to kind of walk through walls and find hidden doors that you then press up to enter. So it's like not really told to you. It's kind of hard to figure that out. But these are all characters from other indie games. So we've got SteamWorld Dig, of course. There's Shantae is in it, Shovel Knight's in it, as well as a number of other kind of characters that you probably recognize if you've been like kind of keeping up with indie games over the past 5 or so years. You'd probably recognize a good deal of these. So we're gonna start a new game though. That way we can recollect some of these coins as we play through some of these levels. So this is like somewhere in between like an expansion and a sequel. There are a couple things here that are new. This game has boss fights, which the original didn't. But for the most part, it's more Mutant Mudds. It is harder. From the get-go, I think it expects that you have already played Mutant Mudds before, because even from the very first stage, it's rough. It's pretty tough. So this is kind of a little tutorial, not really tutorial, just a quick little intro level. Nothing that you'll be replaying. So we'll get through this. So in the game, you can jump, and you have this hover pack, and you've got this like bubble gun. All of these things can be upgraded in some way. You can choose which upgrade you want to take into any particular level. You can only take in one at a time. It was one thing that in the original game, when you beat it, you would unlock this other character that would be able to use all 3 upgrades at once. So here's our hub area. If you go down here, you get your music tracks that you'll unlock as you play through the game. And then here is where we can choose what power-up we want to take into any particular level. So we've got this powered-up gun, which is nice for taking out certain enemies faster, but it's also has the ability to break through particular barriers that you might need to get past in order to get to the hidden stage of a level. This just gives you more airtime for your hover. And then this is my go-to for the most part. Gives you a vertical boost. We'll show that off. And so that's in addition to the hover, so that's really nice. That is, like I said, that's the one that I usually have equipped for the most part. So you have 4 levels. Each level has a hidden stage inside of it. there's always a ghost stage. The ghost stage, all the enemies are ghosts, and that requires a special weapon pickup that you'll get throughout that level in order to kill those ghosts. Granted, the ghost will then reappear after a few seconds, and you have a limited supply of ammo for the ghost weapon. There are 5 different areas to unlock the 5th stage. You've got to get through these 4 and beat the bosses to unlock the boss stage. You need to get all the coins in every level. I don't know if they're actually called coins, but whatever they're called. You have to get everything in every level, except for the soundtrack disc. But everything else you have to 100% to actually in each world to unlock the boss and then to beat the entire game. So we'll start with like we'll do 1-1, and maybe we'll do like a level from each of the 4 zones or something. So the other thing about this game is it's layered. So you are jumping between like the foreground and the background. That was dumb. Sometimes you will have 3 different layers, although for the most part it's 2. It's been, God, about like I want to say about 3 years now since I played the first game. So that, I don't quite remember if there were 3 layers in any stage in that game. I want to say there were, but I don't remember how the split was. This game, it's mostly 2 layers for these levels. And so a lot of the difficulty comes, like, I mean, this stage I probably will get through without much trouble. Although I did die a number of times when I first started it. A lot of the difficulty comes in just very precise movements that are required of you. And so you'll see a little bit of that coming up. There are times where you need to kind of be hovering towards an enemy, shoot and take out the enemy so that you can land on the platform. You saw a little bit of that in the tutorial stage, or the intro stage. Don't want to get the checkpoint just yet. Each stage has 1 checkpoint, typically around the middle of the stage. And that's super nice because when you get to the later stages that are really, really difficult, that helps keep it from being too frustrating. It can get frustrating. It certainly can, because you're going to be dying a lot. Again, you know, I've seen some people finish the game with fewer deaths than I had, at around like 300 some. I've seen people with more. It's definitely very much a variant on your skill level. But, you know, this is a game that starts out kind of assuming that you've already played Mutant Mudds, so even from the first stage, it's pretty tough. It's pretty tough. And it only gets harder from there on out. And like Mutant Mudds, that was one of the things I very much remembered was like, yeah, this is a really difficult game. As far as like platformers go, it's very much. It doesn't go for like super complicated mechanics at all. It is just reliant on its level design, which for the most part is really good. So here's some of the kind of a good example of what the game kind of asks of you. So we're gonna be careful with these spikes. Of course. You jump too early while you're still holding down on the D-pad and everything goes wrong. And of course, there's definitely, you know, there's a good bit of difficulty in just the fact that the game requires you to 100% it in order to actually even beat the game. You know, typically with games like this, it would be like, okay, you know, you need to beat the stage, or maybe you need to collect so many stars or so many of this particular collectible to unlock the next set of areas. Like in this game, it's you have those 4 areas opened up to you from the start, but in order to actually unlock the bosses and get to the final area and start unlocking those stages, you need to get everything. And a lot of the difficulty is in actually getting all of these coins, not dying, you know, getting to the checkpoint so you have all of them saved that you already have. Alright, so got that. And we're clear. So that's not super hard. But there is a bit of like knowing when, like just timing wise, knowing when you need to jump and start hovering. Always be moving forward in certain circumstances so that you can hover, have enough time to hover from one platform to the next while also shooting down enemies so that you can land on that platform without taking a hit, because you do only have 3 hits that you can take. And there are sometimes, like, definitely in later levels, I would get to a point where it's like, okay, I need to, oh, we didn't even get all the coins in that. We missed 3. So we walked by some hidden ones. You'll get to a point where it's just like there's so much stuff going on that you might even like need to be willing to take a hit just to ensure that you're okay. Oh, I'm not. Let's do 2-1 instead. Great. So as platforming games go, kind of one of the big things that I do not like, and I assume this is the case for many other people, is ice platforms. I don't like them. They're not fun. There's a fair amount of them in this game, and they're in certain, especially some of the later levels, in certain areas that can get really frustrating. Oh, it's gonna be on the other side. So, like, this wall right here up top, you can see, like, a coin kind of through a crack in the wall. So that's typically what you want to be looking for, because there definitely are a lot of kind of hidden walkways that you need to hit to make sure you're getting all the collectibles. I think for this stage, maybe we'll try to find the secret room. I don't remember if we need the powered up gun or not, but we'll find out. So let's just keep progressing. Sometimes the secret room is pretty early in the stage, sometimes it's right at the end, sometimes it's in the middle. The big thing with those is you need to remember, alright, we're good. You need to remember what power up is required to get there. So for this one, we just need that vertical boost to get up to V-land right here. But sometimes you'll need the powered up gun. Typically, anything that you would need the added hover for, you could just reach with the vertical boost anyways. And so these levels, like the regular levels, they all have 100 coins that you need to collect. They're about as long. And are sometimes much harder. Got it. Oh, that ice. And I missed the checkpoint too. That's ugh. We'll be fine. Hopefully we can still get through. We'll just have missed some coins. Alright, so here's an example of a level that has that third layer in the background. Again, like I said in my original review of Mutant Mudds, you know, this is a game that came out on 3DS a few months ago. It's actually on 3DS and Wii U, so it's just now coming out on PS4 and Vita. And like with the original, you know, there are often times where I wonder, oh, you know, I wonder what this looks like on the 3DS, like in 3D. That's probably a pretty cool little effect they've got going on, but I don't know. Oh, that's no good. Just barely. But in general, you know, this is one of those games where there's not, you know, there's not a ton of like super complicated mechanics. It's very simple, but it uses its simplicity very well, and just again, it's challenging in the nature of a very deliberate level design, and the way that your character moves. I can see some people describing it as being kind of stiff in a way, but I think it works for what this game requires. And so again, it's on a rare occasion you will probably die in a way that you feel is unfair, but more often than not you're dying because of a mistake you've made and not because the game was cheap. Although that's not 100% of the time, but more often than not that's the case. Got it, okay. Nope. And unfortunately we did not hit the checkpoint there. That's fine. So what we're gonna do, we'll see if this lets me do it. Figure we can load up my save file. Let's play as Rusty. Maybe check out one of these bosses. I guess we can do the first one. So there are 5 bosses in this. They're not too hard. The final boss is kind of tough, can be kind of frustrating. Of course, now that I say that, I'm gonna die here. So, it's the first time I think I've died on any boss other than the first, or the final, maybe. It's more in figuring out what you need to do. So for this specific one, you've just gotta like keep hitting it, and it will get knocked down to these smaller forms. And then eventually the heart will pop out, and you hit that 3 times, and you've beaten this boss. There's some interesting mechanics that they've done with some of the bosses. Okay. Talk a big game, can't walk the walk. Like the second boss in particular, I think is pretty cool. Because it's like you're pushing the boss back instead of like directly doing damage to it. And I think that's kind of a cool kind of concept. Let's see if we can do this. Probably be made easier if we had the powered up gun. Maybe that's why I didn't have trouble with it. Let's try that. But I do remember it was one of the things where when I played the other game, was just kind of wishing that like there were boss fights when it did not have any. So it's a nice addition to have. I'm not like super crazy about them. I think they're fine for the most part. But this is you know, it's a game that's good to know. Like, if you didn't like Mutant Mudds before, like, this is not going to change your mind at all. This is very much made for just people. Like, it's just more levels. It's harder, and it's more of what you liked a few years ago when this came out, or when the other one came out. And there's a couple new things here. I found myself sometimes, and playing through this, like kind of wishing that maybe they would have added a little bit more. More, you know, wishing it was more of a sequel than it is. But it's still fun, you know. It's still Mutant Mudds. It's still a lot harder. For some reason now I cannot beat this guy worth anything. we go. There is like another boss, and I won't mention specifics, but there's one. I think it's. I want to say it's the boss of like the third area, maybe third or fourth. And it like there's actually like kind of a mini level that's part of the boss fight itself, and I really like that one too. So this is Mutant Mudds Super Challenge. It is out now on PS4 and Vita. It's cross buy, I believe cross save as well. It's a cool little game. Again, you know, if it is more Mutant Mudds, and if that's something that you want, then I absolutely go for it. If you did not like Mutant Mudds before, there's nothing here that's going to change your mind. But there are a lot of new levels here. There's, you know, 5 bosses that are new because Mutant Mudds did not have it before. And there are just all new stages that are built around the same mechanics, but they're just a lot harder. It's just a lot harder. So, if you like that, if that's what you want, then this is gonna have plenty of that. It's gonna have these unlockable characters, which is cool. I think they all play the same, but it's pretty cool to be able to play as, you know, like a Shovel Knight or Rusty here or Shantae. I like all of those games that those characters come from, so that's a pretty cool thing. My only thing that I guess the only other thing worth mentioning that I'm kind of bummed out about is that I think they got rid of the mechanic where when you unlock the secret character, you had all 3 power-ups at your disposal at the same time. I thought that was a pretty cool reward for going through and beating the game. Like, that was kind of a nice thing to have. It's, you know, it made a lot of the stuff a lot easier, for sure, but you had already beaten the game, so I thought that was kind of a nice little reward that you get, whereas in this game you don't really have that, so that's a little bit of a bummer. But other than that, this has been Mutant Mudds Super Challenge. I'll have a review up pretty soon, hopefully around the time this video goes up. But other than that, thank you for watching as always, and I'll see you next time.